Hey, that was honestly not even pretty bad. That was really bad. Destitute, even. Not great at all. The Raptors lose a heartbreaker. Not in that they lost at the last second, but that it was probably like a handful of heartbreaking things happening repeatedly over and over again. 113 to 109 to the lowly Orlando Magic, who were healthier this time around, had some incredible performances from guys on their roster. Good for them. This is the Raptors Reaction Podcast. I am your host, Samson Folk. I am joined today by Mac Cunningham. You may know him as the man they call Mac, running off the screen with Raptors Republic. We're here to chop it up after a game. Every once in a while, I have to break up the monotony of just Samson talking about basketball after these games. We have to get a little bit more of a back and forth. Mac, we go right to you. I know you like the Raptors, care about the team. How you feeling right now?
It's never good after a loss. Like, I feel like every time they lose, I can't sleep well at night. And a loss like this it doesn't sit well because it just seemed like it was handpicked for us to use this game as momentum going forward throughout this next stretch of games. But yeah, we just couldn't do it.
How many hours difference are we talking in sleep?
Probably I lose like 3 more hours.
3?
Because I think about so many plays. Like, yeah.
Okay. Let's go there. What are the plays front of your mind right now?
Like if we're gonna start with the first quarter, we noticed early on that the Raptors didn't come with that fight that we really needed, and Orlando, like you said, they're more healthy. I guess they had more confidence going into this game, being at home. And I noticed early on they filtered to the corners a lot, and that's what the Raptors give up. But they were able to capitalize that. And the Raptors just didn't put up much resistance at getting them to avoiding getting them to the basket. And yeah, again, they just they had their way with us. I was hoping for Fred to come out and get that spark because that's where he did have his career high, that 54-point game.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen early.
So the thing to stick with Fred, there were some possessions, not necessarily that last possession where, there's a handoff. Fred, I immediately watched it back. I want to see what happened. I was like, was the pass to Pascal there? And yeah, Fultz got caught up chasing Fred. The pocket pass to Pascal was there. I was disappointed that pass wasn't made. Some people were probably disappointed that Pascal even opted out of that isolation to go into the handoff with Fred. I talked to Pascal about this after that Boston game. How do you know when to go into hero ball? How do you know when to keep trusting in your teammates? And Pascal is a very, very unselfish player. He's a guy who creates good looks. He believes in the looks he creates. He believes in the teammates that are out there with him. And he was Herculean tonight. He did everything. And the crazy thing is he did a lot of it off ball in that second half as well. And it's just, if you get the truth serum, Veritas serum or whatever, and you say like, Pascal, do you maybe keep that ball in your hands? Maybe he says yes. But regardless, I think that pass should have been made by Fred. But no game is just that one play. Mm-hmm. The Raptors left a lot of offensive possessions on the floor. They left a lot of defensive possessions on the floor, not even in what they give up typically via scheme. Everything filters to the corner, sure, we know that. But on top of that, many different occasions where the Raptors are rotating into space and leaving that three-point line open, but these aren't even hard rotations, If there's somebody who's driving hard to the rim, like Franz Wagner, who gets 34 points in this one, and he's taking that dribble, pick up, getting to the bucket, your rotation, it has to be done with conviction. You have to care about getting in that dude's way. And these kind of like, milquetoast step-ins where it's, like I'm here. I'm making the rotation for the defense. That doesn't move it, dude. That's an end one. That's a bucket. That's a layup.
I think we're talking about Scotty here, right?
Well, so there's a few guys who did it throughout the night. Scotty, probably the serial offender among serial offenders. But it was a team-wide thing. I wouldn't dig down on Scotty about that specifically because other guys did it. The on-ball defense, though, Scotty was by far the worst. It's just defensively, actually just everything from Scotty tonight was, I don't want to get too hard on the kid, but is a really bad night for Scotty Barnes. I guess you're a big Scotty guy. Walk me through the hunger. What are you thinking?
I just think he's not checked in totally. I want to say that there's like an injury that we're going to hear about in the offseason that they've been hiding. I hope that's it. I don't want to. I don't want
to hear about it like in this upcoming offseason.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to keep it on the. There has to be something going on.
You're going 7 months ahead.
I feel like it because there's. It doesn't make any sense why he's not being able to move laterally. He's not checked in. He's not finishing around the rim like we're accustomed to him of finishing. He missed a couple layups in that game where I was like, "Come on, dude, that's a dunk," and it cost us. It cost us these little minute plays. It seems like nothing, but they add up, and you've seen it happen tonight.
The point you make about missing or just saying like these used to be dunks is also not even the shots he took that he missed that maybe everyone back when he's healthy or when he's last season when he's in his groove, feeling better, whatever, if it's mental, physical, or just, hitting a wall of sorts, whatever. It's the half stuff. It's the chances he never even took in this game where you can see like Scotty's a strong dude, powerful. Put a dribble down. If a guy's not rotated all the way over, make him into a turnstile. Franz Wagner is doing it on the other end with a live dribble, creating himself. Scotty, you off the catch. You got to be able to put a dribble down and go shoulder to shoulder with a guy and take him sideways. Finish at the bucket. And that is his game is completely bereft of that right now. That's the tough aspect of it, is Scotty's game, even in transition, giving the ball up early, right?
So quickly, like he doesn't even, I think Jack's mentioned it. He didn't even survey the play. He just got in and gave it right back up. And I think Jack made a joke saying like he's playing hot potato. He's not even trying to commit to scoring.
That's so strange because even when he struggled, he and Scotty in the open floor is typically such a recipe for success. And it's always these progressive passes. Because he can always find it. If you're in the open floor, there's a pass somewhere to make. And if it's not there yet, it means you got to put another dribble down, wait for somebody to come up, to step up in the lane, whatever it is. But he's on the team. He's the best at finding those still. And the fact that he's giving the ball up in these, they're not progressive passes, just moving the ball, sometimes a negative pass, right? And like not for a 3-pointer or anything like that, just saying like, hey, maybe this guy will do a better job on ball than I will. And like, what the hell? I don't get it. It's strange basketball from the young Scotty Barnes. It's odd.
Do you think it's a product of the lineup that we're putting out there? Now, I know that starting lineup we have with Fred, OG, Scotty, Pascal, and Koloko, it's statistically, or I guess if you're looking at the numbers there, it's our best defensive rebounding lineup, right? And it's best at free throw rate. So I guess that's the logic behind putting them out there. If the other team misses, we can get out and run. But it hasn't been working offensively. Do you think there's something that we can do to tweak that a bit? Maybe bring back Gary, bring in a stretch big, something to give us more of a spark and utilize Scotty's playmaking a little bit more, get him more into the game early on?
There's always going to be some things you can do to weaponize certain players further. The question right now is whether Scotty is playing well enough and dangerous enough that you start changing a lineup to benefit him when you have Pascal giving you 36, 9, and 7. And on top of that, right, Scotty had advantages in this game that he let pass him by. It wasn't that, the team is, subjugating him to a lesser version of himself or anything. Like, he was put in positions to succeed and he didn't meet the moment quite a few different times. And also it's like, he's not even playing his game currently. So if the Raptors with this lineup healthy, Koloko is more matchup dependent than anybody else here, obviously, for that starting five. But on top of that though, Scotty has to play his game. We saw it early on in the season. That's why, like, who knows what's going on? But when he came out to start the season, he was punching stuff on the inside. He was when Pascal brought a guy up, the low man, to come up to meet him. If Scotty caught the ball anywhere within like 14 feet, it was like a pound dribble towards the rim and he's going up. And this could be for a dunk. It could be for like an extendo left-handed layup. It could be for a push shot. But there's none of that aggressiveness currently. And some of that, I'm sure, is feeling like that sidestep three-pointer he took, insane. Yeah. It's just like he seems like a guy who's kind of bent to his limitations right now, rather than trying to work through, what he's really good at more than anything, I guess. Is that enough, Scotty, for you?
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel so bad.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that stood out to you? I know Fred didn't have the most efficient game tonight as well. Is there something that we could take away from this to say that he's slowly getting his way back, or you're still a little bit concerned?
I think that Fred had some opportunities, most of them in the open floor. Off the start of the game, getting downhill, he's obviously been trying. Like Fred said, he prefers to be a guy who gets downhill. Everyone else is like, we like when you shoot the ball well. Everyone else is thinking that. He likes to get downhill. And the reason why he wants to get downhill is because he still wants to be on ball. He still wants to be effective. And he probably knows he's not hitting right now. This is one of the strangest shooting slumps of his career. He's 2 of 9 from 3 again. He's now probably shooting, I guess, close to 22% over the last 10 games from 3. And a lot of them are really good looks, and they just aren't dropping. Nick Nurse at practice, like a week ago now, he said that his alignment is off, the left-right alignment for Fred. And he says that's an odd thing to have happen, because once you establish that you shoot the ball straight, typically you shoot the ball pretty straight. Fred has always been a short or long misser. Now he is a right to left misser as well. And that has introduced a 22% three-point shooter. And Fred, at 22%, you're going to struggle at a lot of the things that you like to do with him in the game. Like these actions that the Raptors ran late, why do we think that they didn't run Fred as the screener? I know people like that play from last year, but Fred, for a lot of last year, was shooting 50 daggone% on catch and shoot threes. And now it's just, I think he's down to 34% or something like that, and crashing. That's why they didn't run that action, because they're like, will the Magic even sell out for that? And if they do, and if they sell out for Pascal, that ball ends up in Fred's hands, and we're like, oh, we'll see. And we did. We ended up seeing anyway. But man, what are your thoughts on Fred?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. Like, if he's not doing this catch and shoot stuff, because he's not able to get to the basket, it puts us in a tough spot, because we don't have many shooters. It's him and Gary as our quote unquote catch and shoot guys. You could put OG in there, and I wanted to bring up OG too, because I felt like we didn't really establish him. There's a point in the game, I think it was almost a 7 to 8 minute stretch, where I didn't even recognize that he was on the floor in the offensive end. With the spurts he's shown, the growth he's shown, I think we should have made more of a commitment to getting him ready. Now, maybe that's Orlando scheming to get him out of the game or get him out the way. I want to hear your take on that.
So I think that OG's been better at navigating space this season, the drives especially, but his handle isn't really advanced relative to the past 2 years. His handle's roughly about where it's been. The length that Orlando, he got Toronto Raptored or whatever, right? Like the Magic are in gaps to start the game. Then the Raptors miss their jumpers, and then the Magic are like, oh, we're really in the gaps now. You take one dribble towards the rim, there is a limb coming towards you. Navigate that, navigate the guy on ball, maybe trying to reach around, whatever, right? And OG is not the guy for that situation. And also keep in mind that OG is a very powerful finisher on the inside, but it's also, if help comes over, because OG is not like this really quick finisher to beat guys to the glass. We're talking about a guy who's going to crash in there, make a bucket. He finishes well at the rim, but he's not beating guys there. He's getting there, then, kind of moving guys to the side once he is there. That's a lot more difficult when the guys are really long and just as big as you, and in some cases have longer arms than you. So just not an OG game. But the big problem with that was that he didn't shoot the three either. And that's also that his slump has correlated with Fred's slump, has correlated with Scotty's slump. Gary's out of his as far as it looks right now. But just like the Raptors don't have a 3-point presence in this one. Like there's a reason Pascal took 9 threes in this game.
He had to.
It is what the offense needed in the flow. And if he didn't, the Magic were like, even though he shot 2 for 9, the Magic were like, if you don't take this, we're gonna get a lot nastier in how we operate. This shooting is important in the NBA.
Yes, very. So, I know we're gonna face him we're gonna run it back immediately. Do you think there's gonna be any adjustments as far as like lineup wise, or is it something that we're gonna go in and just bring in more energy?
Well, the Raptors were very cool, calm, and collected after that Celtics loss. They really were. I'm not there, obviously. I would love to be there. I'm not. Zarar, send me on some trips. I'm not there, but whenever I get to watch the post-game stuff, I imagine it'll be a little bit more down. Sometimes being more down dictates change. This is also a team with, a championship head coach, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam. Both have been through a lot. We'll see if they just say, we're finding our process. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if they stick with it. Nick Nurse he's really liked throwing Koloko out there to start these games. He's a big fan of it,
I think it's for the reason I was mentioning earlier with the defensive rebounding. I think he likes to have that aspect in there. But
they have like such a. I know that lineup is like good at defense rebounding, but it's just that lineup. Like exactly. Koloko, if he doesn't have like all the big guys around him, like the defensive rebounding is typically not so good. But I don't know. They're in a tough spot. The thing is, right, is like, to get back more to this game, the Raptors in this one, we talked about those rotations, the rotations to nowhere that did nothing. A lot of those in this game. They figured that out late. And actually, screw it. Let's do the Pascal conversation, because he was the most impressive rotator tonight. Even that, like, not only did he almost get that block on Wagner that Wagner managed to put in, but then he got the help side block the next time down. Yes. And he once again in this game, he leads the Raptors in closeouts, and good ones. And he also moved the Magic onto a bunch of different possessions or, actions in their own possessions, because he's showing up in the gaps, because he's playing good defense. And then on the other end, he's initiating offense, keeping the half-court offense going with just his jumper in the first quarter. The team is dead on arrival when he's not there. Then when the Magic start playing a different style, even though the creation isn't robust by Fred or Gary or OG or anybody, he starts working off ball, an offensive rebounder, a cutter, a shooter, a roller, all this kind of stuff. And he ends up 36 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. I'm sure it could have been 18 assists or something like that if guys hit shots. I'm sure Pascal could be close to averaging a triple-double this year if guys hit shots. But he is the lonely superstar right now. I've never seen him play this well, and I've never been like, damn, watching him play with other guys before.
How tables have turned, eh? He was never that guy, and now he is. And it's horrible how this timing is happening with the slumps, and Pascal's peaks are Fred's low points, and it can never be at the same time for whatever reason. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for Pascal, I'm sure, putting in all that effort to try and will us to victory and just crumble at the end.
He doesn't show a post game for what it's worth. He comes out there, he giggles his way through interviews like, oh, we just gotta keep doing our thing. I keep making the passes, keep making the reads, and it's like,
his brother, and he's like,
bro. But that's the thing, right? Is like early in the season when he was getting the MVP chance, and it's like, how does that feel? How do you approach that? And he's like, oh, it's just another thing. It's like, this guy has achieved perfect equilibrium. Like, praise doesn't matter. critiques don't matter. Nothing matters except the basketball. And as soon as he steps off the court, he's not playing basketball anymore. He's just talking about basketball that's been played. I don't know how he does it, dude. I'd be very frustrated if I were Pascal Siakam right now. I get frustrated when I play pickup basketball. And not like I'm not like an aggro frustrated pickup basketball dude, but I'm like, damn, I want to win, guys. Come on, let's get this thing going. If I did what he did tonight, I'm like, bam, like
it's weird. Like, what stands out the most out of this game? Like, what's one key takeaway other than the 3-point shooting that the Magic used to get this win? Points in the paint.
Well, I think length is what referring to the gapping defensively and stuff like that, turnovers, getting runouts, and also like this is something that's tough to prove empirically, but something that has slowly slipped is Fred's point of attack defense. And Fred still has good defensive numbers. He's always had good defensive numbers. And like at the start of the season, when Nick Nurse at Media Day, when he's being asked about Fred's minutes, because everybody's like, hey, this guy's body appears to be breaking down in front of us. Will you play him less? He was like, well, we need a guy to guard at the point of attack, a guy to guard in our pick and roll packages, and Fred is the best at it. So we need to have a guy step up, and that will save Fred minutes. And he didn't seem to be worried about the offensive side of the ball, i.e., because he probably knew Pascal Siakam superstar was coming. But the defensive side of the ball, at times, Scotty too, even OG in this game, like OG completely forgot. He got back cut like 3 times, 2 of them for buckets. He had these, they're not normal for him, but he got beat off the bounce, and not even by Franz, yes, is good and clever, and especially once he's already downhill, but Franz should not be able to shift OG, play him into a screen, and get like that much clearance. OG should be better at navigating that situation. And it does depend on who's, guarding the screener to some degree, but it's just like it's an uncommon game for OG defensively. It was unfortunately a decently common game for Scotty defensively, and Fred as well just was not up to snuff at the point of attack. And, we look at like Scotty, like a -24. Fred a -15, Pascal +12, OG Anunoby +5, plus minus. Like single game isn't everything, but when we've already laid the groundwork of the film and why it turned out this way, these service points to hammer home. Yeah, it's gnarly, dude. It's not good. I hope they gotta beat the brakes off of them on Sunday, dude. You just gotta.
I thought like going into this game, like I always try and visualize what lineups would be used, and for whatever reason, he doesn't like to dip into his guard lineups. With Fred's slump, I was hoping to see Delano or Malachi, just some different guard play and playmaking other than Fred, like running Fred for 37 minutes during a slump period. I know the last game he played well, wasn't the most efficient, but running him through 37 minutes in a loss, it just didn't feel like the right thing to do. I know we didn't know we were going to lose, but I thought we're just going to I thought that we're going to like at least try and get some more guard play behind him to give him some rest, but I don't know.
How nuts is it that OG played 44 minutes?
Exactly. That's crazy.
Actually, yeah, let me amend this statement as well. OG and Fred towards the end of the game really locked down and started playing spectacular defense. So that I shouldn't be saying like the full game. It was uncommon. They both found their stride, especially OG. But man, Gary, let's talk Gary. I mean, I wrote that piece on him and I was like, damn, this guy gets downhill now. Also, hey, can I say something? I thought that was a defensive foul. I thought that Mo Wagner, because the rule is right, is like after the offensive player leaves his feet, you can't move. Like
exactly.
when you're both on the ground, there's some leeway about being set and how aggressive that the offensive player is being. But Wagner took 2 steps forward to undercut him.
Yeah, to position. Yeah.
I thought that was odd. I I thought that would have made it a foul. Not that like the Raptors didn't deserve to win this game. Pascal alone did, but I thought that was interesting. I get Gary. What are your Gary thoughts after this one?
I think he's found his niche on the team. I know it might not be his most favorite position to have, but he's been killing it. Now he's been putting up better efficiency numbers off the bench, better points per game in less minutes. So I think we found our guy who everybody was wanting this guy off the bench who can score, give you 15 to 30 points, just that wild card. And I think Gary has been able to fill that need. But now we lost that 3-point shooting in our starting lineup, and we're getting smoked early on. That's the problem.
It is a problem. It's there's a bunch of different memes out there about trying to supply something that just isn't there when you don't have it. It could show like maybe an extension cord block that plugs into itself. It's like, that's not going to work. It's or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, their self-sustaining economy that they realized made no sense. But Gary, you're absolutely correct. And not only that, but like the improvements are met with better process. He's way faster as far as the decisions he's making. He's way more, and maybe it's the level of defenders that he's seeing at the point of attack. I couldn't say for sure. And, maybe that's even a little bit unfair to Gary. Gary's making the decisions to get downhill. He's making the decisions to get to his shots. And he's making shots once he starts getting further downhill. I think he's still at like 56, 57% from the short mid range. He's shooting a career best at the rim. The 3-point shot is starting to come back around after, a lengthy slump. He's doing well. And as far as ball pressure, Nurse said he wanted ball pressure. Gary's giving it to him. Truthfully, I think he deserves a lot of credit for his play off of the bench. And I mean a lot of it, because he's been tremendous.
Yeah, as a young player as he is, you got to commend his maturity to take the bumps, take the criticism, and come out and be a professional. To take the new role and excel and try and help the team win. A lot of times you see players go off the bench and it just everything goes off the rails, and he's been able to keep himself together, and I commend him for that.
Yeah. Chris Boucher. An odd game, right? Because he has to contend with that length as well. That 3 for 10 from the field, that's nasty. But his energy was really important to what the Raptors did in this one, and his length on the other end. So it's you have to, and this is the thing about, you don't have Gary for part of the game, or you don't have Gary in some of the lineups that you usually do. You're missing offense where sometimes you do get it. You have to take that on the chin, the fact that it's like sometimes these possessions are going to funnel to Chris, and some games he's going 6 for 9. Some games he's going 3 for 10. And this is the holistic Chris Boucher like thing. He's always going to get after it. It's just like, what is it? What does it look like at the end of the possession? And so I don't want to be too hard on him. Maybe he, when he's a year from now, he's a little bit better at knowing when to go up and when to like find a read out to the perimeter. But why the hell would you pass it out to the perimeter on this team? Like nobody can shoot. Nobody can shoot the ball. So like, hell yeah, just do your thing, Chris. Put the shot up. We need points.
Yeah, like that's what he is. He just catch and shoot. Like 90% of the time he's gonna shoot the ball. And again, just like the OG point you made earlier with the length, he had a problem with it. And this is like the second or third game that we face a team that's known for their length, and we've struggled. I think the other time was New Orleans, and I can't recall the next one. But that New Orleans game,
they were long, they were a little bit more coordinated, and boy, they were stronger. And man, I said we have to beat the brakes off of Orlando. We got to do it like New Orleans beat the brakes off of the Raptors, man. That's the way it has to happen.
And that's the thing with Toronto Raptors basketball and the 6'9" vision, right? What's the point of having the length is to have that size difference. But what happens when you face someone with the same size? You got to bring that energy and fight. And we haven't been doing that early on. And again, that's why we keep losing those first quarters.
It's a hell of a thing to go out against these Magic and get, have Franz Wagner completely slice and dice your defense. And Franz, like, we've seen Franz in the past use an escape dribble after, the Bucks blitz him with Giannis and Bobby Portis. And then we've seen Giannis drop back, and we've seen him use that escape dribble, knife into the lane, and like euro around Giannis and get an and one or something. Franz is this dude to some degree, but not to this degree. The Raptors, they made it relatively easy for him, and that's where you're supposed to be, this like uniquely long, uniquely strong, uniquely gritty team. If you don't bring that physical element to the spots of the floor that you're good at bringing it to, then you lose a massive part of what makes you successful. It's hard for them to survive when they lose identity, because Pascal Siakam is the only guy currently offensively that is succeeding outside of that identity, because Pascal doesn't need to be Vision 6'9". Pascal is one of the best players in the NBA right now. and OG defensively doesn't need to be Vision 6'9", neither does Pascal, but a lot of the other guys need to buy into this. And when that doesn't work, and it's not five guys on the string, it's not harmonious, then all of a sudden it starts looking kind of dumb.
Well, yeah, like today.
It's tough, man.
It's tough. It's always tough doing a reaction pod after a loss, because there's so many things you could pick out. And next game, all this could be flipped. Do you have faith? Do you have faith in our comeback on Sunday?
I thought they were going to win this game. Even when they were down, I think I tweeted it when they were down 14 or 15. I was like, I think the Raptors are going to win this game, because they had enough going right for them, i.e. Pascal is good at basketball, that I thought they could get back into it and win this game. But that wasn't in the cards, man. They fumbled too many opportunities out on the break. They had too many shots. Just like Gary, that three-pointer, it just touched everything, leaves the rim. Then he's like, okay, I'm going to be the guy. And he misses some jump shots. Fred is like, I'm going to be the guy. Misses some jump shots.
Possessions, pass.
misses the pass as well. And the Raptors, they just like it. Orlando tried to gift this one to him late. They couldn't score, and Orlando sent him to the line on a box out. Like, they're gonna win on Sunday. I tell you that much. They're gonna win on Sunday, but that does not erase what they've lost tonight. That's probably what I mean to say more than anything. They have to wear this. And the only thing that erases this is by beating good teams in the future, figuring out a more harmonious way to live offensively and defensively with the guys on the roster. Precious Achiuwa fixes everything. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I was about to say, when is he expected to be back? In a week or two?
I would expect in about a week or two, yeah.
Okay.
But we'll see.
We'll be fine.
You just gotta. They have a superstar. You know what? Like that's I keep taking that away from these games. Is like, like what's it? You test if the diamond's real, if the jewelry is real. Like you have that thing. You put one of those to Siakam, he's so real, dude. He is him. He's that dude. And
Siakam.
Yes, Siakam. That's really meaningful. And maybe if Fred and OG stop going against the grain of literally everything that has come before as indicators of them as shooters, maybe all this stuff starts to look way better. But daggum, if it don't look bad now, it's just tough, dude. Reggie Evans Award. Who's got that Reggie Evans in him to you? You watched this game. I know you saw Reggie Evans, beard, bald head, rebounds. It looks like me out there,
So it couldn't be on either team?
No, the Raptors. We're going to strictly Raptors, who provide the most Reggie Evans-esque performance.
I'll give it to Pascal.
I like that. That's right. Okay. Top quick reaction comment is from WTF8838. Quote, our offense hurts my eyes. Can we have some ball movement and man movement so at least the bricks will look prettier to watch? End quote. Okay, so I'll respond to this first. The Raptors, they don't use a lot of movement. They don't occupy the weak side in a lot of their actions. And there's supposed to be these, every offense, for what it's worth. The read and react moniker is pretty funny because all offenses are read and react. Like, for example, most offenses have these principles that when you're running a pick and roll, say, and there's a tag, one of the guys on the weak side, you understand who it might be. And especially if it's, the team is setting up like a set action or something, who is supposed to cut. Like, it's like, if they get a tag, okay, maybe you space out. If they don't get a tag, then, maybe there's a lob. But if the guy doesn't clear the screen for the lob, then you cut and you drag the guy into the paint to open up a three. Like, there's these live read and react principles that most teams have. The Raptors promote like they're unique in having a read and react offense in the NBA. It is not unique. There is read and react principles to everything that's happening. The Raptors just have less operating as the impetus for motion. And while that works when Pascal is on ball, it doesn't necessarily work with Fred on ball because Fred isn't just beating guys. OG isn't just beating guys. You need these guys to catch the ball coming off screens. You need these guys to come off of certain types of actions. You need decoy actions. You need to run stuff that, like, for example, in that piece I did for Christian Coloco's defense, what do we see Brooklyn do? Brooklyn sees how Christian Coloco is playing at the level of the screen. They want to get to the side pick and roll because it's a disguised action, because they want to get to the pin down coming off the middle for Joe Harris. So what do the Raptors do defensively? They ice that so they can't get to the side, so that you take away that pin down to the middle because everything's congested now. Teams have counters to that stuff. And the Raptors, they don't really play that game offensively. Like, sure, they run a twirl action in this game, but it doesn't go anywhere. Sure, they run like these staggered sets, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And they run their flex action that turns into that dribble handoff, and they ran it like 6 times in this game, and Fred doesn't make anything of it. But these are rote actions in the NBA. There's not a lot of nuance to it. There's not a lot of success to it. And it's just Pascal. That's tough. This stuff looks better when guys shoot better, of course. And they should be shooting better, but they're not. And it looks bad. Do you have any input on that?
Well, I think they would shoot better if there was more flow to the offense as well. It's a lot of one pass, dribble, shoot going on. And yeah, I think those looks that we're looking for will come if we move the ball. I know you said the flex actions or flex motion plays and whatever, but we're not moving it enough for us to actually execute the actual play. And I think that's the problem with this. I think that's what the commenter was trying to say, I guess. Like, the ball's not moving.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also the thing on top of that is you have to move with purpose. Even if you don't think that your action if your aspect of the action is the one that's going to hit, you have to run it to try and gain as much of an advantage as possible. Because, like, when you look at, for example, that flex action, if OG like is bashing to the rim and cutting really hard, it does generate the idea in the defense that they have to sink a little bit lower. And Fred has more room coming off. Like, he sets the flex screen for OG, then pops up off the pin down. If OG is more intentional cutting middle rather than just kind of going through the motions, sometimes the defense is going to sink, which means Fred gets more room, which also means that, like, maybe you can get into that pick and roll. Maybe the defense sunk further, and when you get eventually to that dribble handoff with Pascal Siakam, that two-man action gets to operate in more space. Like, everything is tied intrinsically together. And the Raptors operate like one thing.
Yeah.
And they have the talent to make it work at times, but just not often enough. But this game, like, overall, I would say they lost this game because of defense. Honestly.
Too many paint looks, way too many.
They had a parade down there, man. 113 points. It's not as bad as it looked after the first, like, what did they score? 67 in the first half, the Magic. It looked like it was going to be a lot worse defensively. That 19 points scored for the Magic in the fourth quarter, but the Raptors only had 22 as well. it's hard not to focus in on that aspect. But Mac, it's like 42 minutes. We're gonna set a record for longest reaction podcast ever. I need to hear your final thoughts on this game before we get out of here.
Final thoughts. We need Scotty to wake up, and Pascal is top 5 in the league.
Top 5. Damn. Is there gonna be a video about this? Are you crafting it up right now?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I should whip one up. But yeah,
I would like to see it. Yeah, like the meme. I would like to see it. Anyway, Mac, thanks for coming on, man. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. If it's on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're on the podcast channel, thanks for letting us talk to you. And if you're whoever you are, you're hearing this, subscribe to RaptorsRepublic.com. Make sure to catch all the latest and greatest Raptors coverage. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, Mac. Thank you so much. And whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.
Peace.